Here we are at the beginning of chapter 3 for our final review. It is on page 62 in your textbook. The big idea for this chapter is that whole number concepts can be extended to fractions and decimals when more precise calculations are needed. So again, we have the Christian worldview that error is contrary to God, and He's the standard of truth. So arithmetic answers are right or wrong. So we have one math answer, lots of ways to get there, one right answer. And we can reflect God's precision in the world when we measure carefully, clarify mistakes, keep accurate records, and make honest representations of our work. We can also have confidence in the accuracy of our math answers when we follow appropriate rules such as order of operations, because God established knowable truth in the world and mathematics. These were the concepts that you should have known how to do before you even started this chapter earlier in the year, and certainly you should know how to do them now. You should know and recap your vocabulary before, and then just like our other final days, you're going to either mark the sections with a check, S, or an E, depending on how you need to study. So you can turn to Lesson 3.1, we're going to be on pages 65 and 66. This will be dividing fractions. And we're going to use reciprocal for this. So if I take problem number 4 of the guided practice on page 67, that problem is 4 divided by 1/2. Using what we learned about dividing fractions, we know that we do not change the start. We leave it the same. But then we multiply by the reciprocal. And your math teacher may have given you different tools to remember this, like keep, change, flip. So you keep the first number the same. You change the operation from division to the opposite operation of multiplication, and then you flip the fraction to the reciprocal, which is instead of 1/2, the reciprocal would be the opposite, 2/1. So when I multiply 1/2 by 2/1, the definition of a reciprocal would be you should get 1/1. So I get 2/2, which simplifies to 1/1, which is just 1. Okay, so then I can multiply this straight across. Whole numbers can be put over 1 because 4 divided by 1 is still 4. And then when I multiply fractions, I just multiply straight across. So this would be 8/1, which I can simplify to 8. So 4 divided by 1/2 would be 8. I can model this. If I had 4 bars split into half each, I end up with 8 parts. Okay, I can also divide whole numbers by proper fractions. So 1/2 is a unit fraction, and then I can divide them by proper fractions. So if you go to page 69 and you look at number 10 in the guided practice, a proper fraction just means it's not improper, so the numerator is not larger than the denominator. So 4 divided by 4/7 would equal, so same thing, I keep the first number the same. I change it to multiplication, so I use the opposite operation, and then I use the reciprocal. So I multiply 4 by 7/4 instead of 4 divided by 4/7. I put the 4/1, and I get 4 times 7 is 28, and 1 times 4 is 4. So you had the option, you could have simplified right here and done and reduced these 4 and the 4. To reduce, they either have to be on, one has to be the numerator and one would have to be the denominator, either in the same fraction or the opposite opposing fraction. Or you can just wait and simplify them later. So I know these can both be divided by 4. So this would equal 7 over 1, which is equal to 7. So that's dividing a whole number by a proper fraction. Okay, I can also divide a fraction by a fraction. Same exact process as when I divide a whole number by a fraction. I keep the first number the same, and I multiply by the reciprocal. So if I look at number 18 on our guided practice, so on page 73, I'm going to do 2/3, and it says divided by 1/6. So I keep the first fraction the same, so it's equal to 2/3. I change it to multiplication, and then if I change it to multiplication, I have to use the reciprocal. So 1/6, the reciprocal is 6 over 1. Then I multiply across. Again, I could simplify the 6 and the 3 because they both can be divided by 3. So that's just 12. And then 3 times 1 is 3. These can both be divided by 3. So this would be 4 over 1, which is equal to 4. So 2/3 divided by 1/6 is 4. Okay, then we're up to dividing a fraction by an improper fraction or a mixed number. So the learn section for this is on page 74. We're going to do the guided practice that's on page 75, number 25. It says divide 2 3/5 by 1 8/9. Okay, so you can see we actually have 2 mixed numbers on this one. So you go ahead and try and do that.